Hello and welcome to this Project in a Box video tour. This is the first of the detailed tours looking through the functionality that's available in the new 4.3 release, and here we're going to be focusing on things that have been added to the browser app. Okay, so here we are in the browser app, and as we can see immediately, it's had a bit of a makeover. This is particularly designed and laid out so that you can put your own graphics in it if you want to. Many of our customers who have this as if you like the front face of their project management capability to their partners and suppliers want to put their own styling on it, their own imagery, logos, etc., and so you can easily do that. We simply log in. If you're using Windows single sign-on, you can do that. Obviously, logging in over the internet, we're using username, password, and so once I've logged in and it knows who I am, it can give me some information, and I can get on with working on my projects. So the first thing you'll see is new here. We have this pane that's included. You can choose what's in this pane for each of your different license types. So I'm an administrator, so I get a particular set of things here. Obviously, if I was a normal user, I wouldn't see the dashboard because I may not have permissions to work with it. And these icons are then repeated across here in the top menu. So we've got home, select a project, working in the explorer of and process of a current project. And these are the same that we use on the main Windows application as well, so just helping people in the migration between the two different interfaces. So let's go and choose the projects we want to work on. Many of these forms are going to be the same as they were before, just styled and laid out perhaps slightly differently, so I'm not going to go through them in detail apart from the newer ones, but we will come in and just pick our project, and of course we can run on into the Explorer in the way that we're familiar with already. So let's go back and have a look at some of these other admin. So the first thing we're looking at here really is the new admin forms that have been added. So the navigation of this has changed because obviously there's many more forms in here. We've had to put in a more formal, structured tiered menu type navigation rather than just every single item in a row across the top. And we've tried to match this to the way it is in the Windows application as well. So easy to, if you know one, to use the other. So let's come to portfolio first. We've got managing portfolios and updating the portfolio summary information. And these forms are just like they are in the main Windows application. We can update exactly the same content in the portfolio summary information form. And when it comes to managing portfolios, we can manage our existing portfolios in terms of who's got permissions to work on them in different ways, adding those users from the lists. We can manage the projects in and out of that portfolio as well. And so the sort of simple portfolios that most people deal with, which is a group of projects that you want people to navigate to, you can set all that up from here. You can either adjust the existing ones or you can create your own new ones. So that's straightforward. The portfolio rules, which we're going to talk about in the next video tour, the new rules facility, which is much more sophisticated and has some quite complicated forms to work through to enable you to process projects into portfolios based on categorization of the properties that they have. We feel that's a little bit complicated for working on a browser, typically, for working on a tablet or a smartphone. So we've left that just in the Windows application for the time being. We may add that later, but that's a sort of split really here, where we've got things that are general day-to-day admin, the things that people use most of the time, and are relatively simple to use. We've put those into the browser interface. So when it comes to project form here, we can obviously select a project, which we've done before. We can create new projects. So this is a relatively simple form again. It's one people use regularly, and it's exactly the same as it is in the Windows application. So we can come through here, choose the method template we're interested in. We can then add users to the project, permissions groups in exactly the same way, add it to a portfolio if we want to, give it a name, create the project. All very straightforward. Same with managing projects. Again, of course, who can access these forms, depends on permissions. So you only get them if you're an admin in these particular cases. If you're just the manager of a project, you have modify rights on the project and a manager license, then you can still do the sort of project management administration, like managing stages, adding new stages to your project, updating your stage summary information here. And here we have broken down a little bit. A lot of these things about stage summary information, about setting up reporting on the project, about project properties, on the main Windows application, they sit all within project summary information. It's a big complicated form. Here we've broken them out into some different areas just to make it easier to manage in the browser. So we'll have a look at the other couple of those. Project reporting information. This is where we set up the sources of data for our reporting. We've got project controls, spreadsheets. This will look familiar because it's exactly the same as it is in the Windows application, not unsurprisingly. The only difference here is that when we want to work on some of these items, we need to select them using the select button down the side. Now that's particularly the case with working with permissions, which we'll come back to in just a second. So the last one of these I wanted to talk you through was project properties. Now this is actually a little bit more sophisticated than it is in the Windows application. So in the Windows application, when you come to manage your project properties in the at the project level in the project summary information form, you see a long list of all of them. Here you see them by view. So these are your saved views for properties. Now here I'm looking at benefits analysis view. This is a view which wholly the data comes from spreadsheets, so I can't actually edit that here, but I can come and see that information straight away. If I pick one which is things which are system project properties, you'll see I've then got something that allows me to edit these, and I can start to edit them. You'll see it's sort of holding open which ones I've been editing like that, and then when I'm ready I can apply and save those changes back to the database. We can of course sometimes have a mixture of things where some of the things we can update and some of the things have come from other places and we can't. But this allows us to jump very quickly to our properties views, see them and edit them where that's appropriate. And we can do this one project at a time. So let's have a look at those last couple I was mentioning, which is managing project permissions, and this is very, very similar to the one in the main Windows application. But when we come to managing document permissions, here we had a situation before, when you're on a Windows application you can multi-select rows. That's not so easy to do here in this browser control. So what we have is a slightly different arrangement. We still have the thing where we can apply global changes. I can pick everything associated with a particular work package and change it in a certain way. But if we want to do individual ones, we're simply editing them like that to enable them. We can make the change and then we can save that as an update like that. So previously in the Windows application you would make a whole load of changes to this form and then you would save them en masse at the end. Here we're saving them one item at a time. You make a change, it's saved automatically back to the database. So works in a slightly different way, but it still allows you to do all those same things that you needed to. You can do them from here instead, and you can jump around between projects in exactly the same way. Dashboard, just the same as it was before. Explorer, same as it was before. The reports items, they are the same. They now work from the new menu item here. Depending on how recently you've used them, you'll find some slightly different elements included in here, but they are basically the same as they've been for some period of time. Now the other major changes come in here under controls. So we've had task risks and issues in here for some time. So if we go and have a pick of the tasks one, for example, I can see here all my tasks using a view. I can of course change the view I'm using, and I can change the data range I'm using depending on my permissions about what I'm allowed to see. I can see all that data here, all my tasks, and I can see the detail of them in the task forms. This is all the information based on tasks for me. I can't of course edit this, and one of the things we're going to look at here at the moment is then making some edits to this information. And the other thing we're going to have a look at here is taking this task information and turning it into a resource chart. So resource charts are new here. We've had them in the Windows application for a while. Same thing happens when I reload this. It's giving me all my tasks in a default view, so I get my own personal resource chart. Every user can see their own resource chart. They can drill down to see the data requirements underneath for how many hours on each particular project in time period. Often we've got a very long time period here. This is going back as far as 2010 and through into the beginning of 2016 for my allocated tasks. Obviously got some old project plans still in here. If I want to, I can instead narrow that down to look at a particular period. So I could come and look at the whole of November on a daily basis like that. Much easier to do, and this is, you can do this very easily if you want to from a smartphone, let's say from your tablet, and you've got that data for you. If you want instead that data to be for the current portfolio, then we can go away and do that, and we can then see that same bit of analysis. Let's change that into days again. So we can see that now across a range of different people and what their interaction is and how many hours they have on those particular activities. So this is really good, really nice and interactive, not complicated to use because it's simple pick lists. If you want to change these views that are used, and that's the same for task risks and issues, you can do that in the main application. So you can change the columns that are displayed, the filtering rules that are applying to the data that's sent, etc. Most people are interested in working from a standard pick list, and most PMOs tend to work that way. The PMO sets the type of analysis that people are going to use. The users then simply pick it from a list. So let's have a look at this last one, which is editing plan. So in here I can choose to make a change to plan content. Now normally working on files, we go to the Explorer, we check our file out, it opens as a file on the device, and we then work with the app for that. Now in a Windows environment that's pretty straightforward. We're going to use Word, or we're going to use Planner if we're working on our plan. If we're working from a tablet or from a smartphone, we may well have an app for working with Word or Excel. That we do not provide an app for working with Planner directly, a standalone Planner app. But what we do here now is allow you to check out the file, we hold it in the browser, and we give you a browser interaction to that file so you can make changes and then save it back. That's just for Planner data, and that's just for the plan part of it, tasks and plan element, not for risks and issues. So if your data is coming from Microsoft Project, you cannot edit it here. It has to be in a planner type file. So here it's telling me which plan type files we've got in the project, and it's not checked out, so I could check it out and work on it. Of course this works with the normal permissions again, and we can then see here our current plan information for this project. What I'm going to do is make a couple of changes. We've got a task in here which is only showing 50% complete, which is in fact complete, and we've got a new task that we added earlier, and I'm going to take that out and add a new task in somewhere else. So here's my data below the tasks in the plan. To minimize space, because often these are quite long, it has a sort of auto collapse switched on. So once I start working in an area, it's going to collapse away the other summary groups and just leave the one that I'm working in. I can run in select and then edit task, but I'm going to change this to click to edit. So we'll go to data analysis, and now we've got it pretty much exactly the same form. Well, it certainly allows you to do all the same things that you can do in Planner. We've just laid it out slightly differently to get this nice and easy. These pop-up forms you can move around, so you can still see the data in the background if you want to. I'm obviously running in a low a laptop screen here, but if you're on a big monitor you can see generally quite a lot more information like the Gantt chart behind. So I'm just going to upgrade that to 100% complete and OK it. We see that's now written in here, and we'll see it's updated the Gantt chart image at the top. If we particularly want to increase space, we don't need to show the Gantt chart image here, we can take that away. It's quite nice to be able to see that at the same time though. So the other thing we were going to do was get rid of this new task here. So I'm going to select new task and we're going to delete that. That's now gone, and it's gone from up here as well. As I mentioned, once we've started working in this summary group, you can see it's contracted the rest of them down. They've been collapsed to give us a bit of a clearer view at the area where we're working. But I'm going to come down here now and add myself a new task, which is now here at the bottom, so we can come in and edit that. We can give it a name change, and we can do all the normal sorts of things that we might do about working with it. We see it automatically gives us a date created in here, and we can put it into a group if we wanted to do that. I'm going to come and make it start after the preceding task in the normal sort of way, and I'm going to allocate some people to it, so we'll pick me and put me on that task. Normal sort of thing, exactly the same way we might have worked in Planner. That data is going to be updated here, and we can see all that showing down here in our current sort of held plan view. Now, this data, just like in the normal model, we've checked the file out. It's separate from the main application, and I can, when I'm ready to update that, I can check that back into the main system, and it will then load into the database to be seen everywhere else. If I was to go back up and look at my tasks list up here, it wouldn't be showing me this task yet until I check it back in. So that model is still exactly the same as it was before. Other aspects that we can deal with here are some of the key options. So we can come and check our calendar if we want to set a local calendar, and we can also manage our resource lists here as well. A little less sophisticated than it is in the full planner. Full planner allows you to paste in a long list of people and do a range of other such features. This is a little bit simpler, but it does allow you to add new users to this list or remove users from the list if you want to. So we've made our changes to our plan. What we can do now is check it back in. I could use a description if I wanted to, but we'll just check it back in like that. That's now back and available, and of course that just fits into the normal model. If we go and look at the plan file in Explorer, we'll now see it's versioned and it knows who's made the changes to it, etc. We come back and look in our task list here, and we'll see that new task appearing wherever it was that we put it in this particular view. So I can go and look at project tasks instead, and we'll see it down here, new task name with its information. The other changes we've made have all happened, and that will have also fed through into the resource charts and other areas as well. So really a logical extension of working with looking at task risks and issues, but of course people can only edit it if they've got permissions on it, and if they've got the right sort of license. So view-only users can still only see their things. So you've still got that control within the permissions model of, well, whether people edit or not. Last couple of things on here. In the admin menu, we've got the things for managing users. So we can create new users, just like we do in the Windows application. We can manage user accounts, so we can move our users around within our permitted license limits. And we can also manage that global project permissions by user view. Now actually here we've made a slight change to this form, which is in both the browser and the Windows application, because we've now got many customers with hundreds and hundreds of projects, 500-600 projects, not uncommon. We need to be able to manage permissions at a portfolio level as well as an individual project level. So I could look at all projects here, and I can see all the projects that I've got permissions on, or that somebody else has got permissions on, Carl for example, and I can go through just like we looked at before, and I can edit this particular row, make a change to it, and then save that back into the database. I could of course do that at a sort of global level if I wanted to, by saying I want to move him all into a particular group or another. But I can also do this at the portfolio level. So if I want to see what his interaction with is with all the projects we're currently working on in the IT projects portfolio, I can see that nice and easily, and I could give him access to all of those in this portfolio. And that's quite useful when you've got your portfolio groupings running. You can then use those for easy management of permissions as well. Okay, so that's our look through the browser elements. In the next tour we're going to have a look through property management and things associated with that, and new navigation in the diagrams in the Windows application. So that video will be more focused on the Windows application. Pricing of Small Team Edition, Enterprise Edition, Live Edition, unchanged, still offering the same value that it has done for quite a period of time. And if you're interested in any further details around that, or you'd like to talk to us more generally about what Project in a Box can do for you, then do get in contact and we'll be delighted to hear from you. Thank you very much.